growing push for mixed energy supply for PNG. PNG Health Insurance counters concerns. And Bougainville Festival winners meet Australian chocolate makers.
This is National MTV News with Neville Choi.
Good evening, this is Thursday's news. Thank you for your company. There is a growing push for mixed energy supply in PNG to allow more people to access electricity. The National Energy and Petroleum Summit allowing for discussion of domestic gas use to produce electricity, complementing already existing hydro and diesel power stations. But as always, there is a surprise contender still pushing to be a viable option for electricity. This is Mayor Resources' coal energy prospect.
Managing Director of Mayor Resources Paul Mulder explaining to PNG Media the company's portfolio of cement and mineral sand. The Minister for Energy Sam Basil joining the conversation, with the company pushing for coal as an energy source to be part of the Minister's plan to have a mixed energy solution.
Opportunities on our dump sites in Lepa, Mosby and Mount Hagen. We do have a wind, good locations that can generate wind power. We got good locations that can collect sun power. And of course, we got abundant resource of deposits of coal in the Gulf that we need to transform into power. All we want is bring the cost of power down, and it's got to be reliable and it's got to be cheap.
The Minister for Energy's plan to introduce mixed energy sources will come true once the National Energy Authority bill is passed in Parliament. Finance
Department and Treasury Department, there were some issues raised in terms of the funding. We are sorting that out because we want our National Energy Authority to be self-funded, and we do not want to put any more pressure into the government funding. So we are sorting that mess up, and once we got it fixed, we will push through, and I believe that we will get the support of Cabinet and support of Parliament.
Stripping the power from PNG Power and opening the market for other power producers to supply electricity into the power grid.
And many other countries' way of doing things. So they understand the regulatory part that the Energy Department will take up. And we also, when we start talking about taking the functions of regulation back to energy, we make sure that we do not encroach or infringe onto the operation side of PNG Power.
Mayor Resources is counting on the National Energy Bill as PNG Power had rejected Mayor's power purchase proposal.
Look, we welcome the National Energy Bill because we welcome competition. We don't want a monopoly position. We need to be able to stand on our own 2 feet and compete in the market, and we're very confident we can because it will reduce the price.
After news of PNG Power looking far away from coal and to renewable energy, Mayor was reported to set up the power plant for PNG ports. But with the power station comes with where the coal will come from. Mayor telling MTV News that it will import Indonesian coal, while approval and mining leases are given to have coal mined in Gulf Province. The Gulf Governor Chris Haiveta welcoming the news.
He's brought the energy policy in, and now he's going to bring the authority in and regulate it, and then hopefully we can get a good mix. And I'd like coal to be there for very selfish reasons, because it's from Gulf.
Mayor are even willing to build another coal power station in the province, as Gulf is one of the most least developed and nearly all of its population have no access to electricity. The energy sector for PNG looking to have an interesting time ahead, as the government will have to weigh out getting electricity to the people and at what cost. Adelaide Sirks-Kari, National MTV News.
The dawn of digitization of the government broadcaster, National Broadcasting Corporation, may be closer than initially thought. MTV News caught up with Communication Minister Sam Basil, who was pleased to reveal that the National Executive Council had approved funding for the change from analog to digital. Adelaide Sirks-Kari with this report.
Information and news, a key pillar in any democratic society. NBC, being one of PNG's oldest broadcaster, will now look to the digital era.
migration of NBC, both radio and television, and we've included MTV in that package to migrate from analog to digital. And those were part of the reason that if they move out of their Garden City site, they will leave all equipments behind and walk straight into the new equipments, which will be digital, of course. So those are the reasons why we're thinking of asking Telecom to think about releasing MTV into NBC yard.
As newsrooms in PNG are growing smaller with Click TV's announcement of its newsroom closing last Friday, the importance of getting information across to people has never been more important, with social media overtaking as the choice of where the younger generation get their news from.
We do want and encourage more of TV companies in Papua New Guinea. It's good for our audience, and it's good for our citizens to have access to multiple TV stations. But as I've said, it all comes back to business. Yeah.
With the NEC approval, Basil is confident he will give a new look to NBC and communication in the country.
All the package comes with training and all this, but I think we have to evolve into digital because regions around our country, and it's part of the ITU requirements that we have to evolve all our existing analog equipments into digital so that we can conform to the world standards.
Adelaide's Terox Kari, National, MTV News.
Following the launch of the National Health Insurance Scheme by insurance company PNG Health Insurance Company Limited on the 9th of March, President of the National Doctors Association, Dr. James Naipau, released a statement accusing PHA of misleading the public. The details of Dr. Naipau's statement were published by Post Courier on the 14th of March. This has raised questions on how the National Health Insurance Scheme was established and as well as how PHA will roll out the insurance scheme for public servants. In response to the NDA statement, PHA called a press conference today to clarify their side of the story.
Following the launch of the National Health Insurance Scheme by underwriter PNG Health Insurance, President of the National Doctors Association, Dr. James Naipau, described the scheme as misleading. Amongst other issues raised by the NDA President in an article published by Post Courier on 14th of March, were the number of public servants who have signed up for this health insurance scheme and PHA's medical partners in PNG. In a media conference held today, PHA Specialist Advisor Ras Juta reiterated that PHA have not released any official statement regarding the number of public servants signing up for the health insurance as well as their medical partners in PNG.
PHA has made no official statement that all 110,000 public servants have signed up for this voluntary scheme. In fact, that it's a voluntary means that they have a choice whether to sign up or not.
Mr. Juta emphasized that this health insurance scheme is voluntary and not all public servants are required to sign up. Also, PHA has not stated that preferential treatment will be given to public servants in public hospitals. PHA would like to inform the NDA as well as the general public that the company has been granted permission by IPA to conduct business in PNG. Mr. Juta says PHA has partnered with AXA Insurance, the biggest insurance company in the world, and they have no intention of misleading the public. Specialist Advisor Juta with the PHA directors are calling on the National Doctors Association to meet with them and discuss other comments or statements regarding PHA.
We are inviting all Papua New Guineans, including stakeholders, government workers, medical clinics, as well as the National Doctors Association, medical practitioners, to have a dialogue with us and discuss our scheme for better understanding. We are also open for suggestions in improving the scheme as well.
Patricia Chiamo, National MTV News.
Health Minister Sepuka Temu says the National Cancer Unit in Leh will be rehabilitated, but he stopped short of saying exactly when. This will include an extension and construction of a new facility that will replace the old cancer unit built since the 1940s. The new cancer facility was made possible through the passing of the radiation safety legislation in Parliament in January this year.
According to the Health Minister, Sep Pukatemu, the new facility will be ready to accommodate a new cobalt machine for radiotherapy to treat cancer once the construction is done. The National Department of Health will reorder a cobalt machine to replace the old unit at Lepa Hospital that hasn't been working since 2016. This is made possible through the passing of the radiation safety and control legislation passed by Parliament in January this year.
We are going to fully rehabilitate the Engau cancer unit, so it will be extension and construction of a new facility.
PNG's National Cancer Unit is located at Engau Hospital in Ley Morbe Province. The treatment of cancer includes surgery, chemotherapy and radiotherapy. In order for the facility to operate as a national treatment unit, it needs to provide all treatment of cancer. But for almost 3 years, the cancer facility has not been providing radiotherapy treatment to its patients.
So last year, as you remember, the budget supported the 2 centers to be built, and so Port Moresby General Hospital right now has already awarded a contractor to build a new cancer center. At the same time, they submitted early for a purchase of the linear accelerator, which I announced last week. The contract was signed with the chairman of the Central Supply Tenders Board and the supplier. And so that linear accelerator contract has been awarded, and so it will now require us to meet the requirements of how to transport the linear accelerator to Port Moresby, meeting the International Atomic Agency requirements.
Cancer patients were told by doctors to seek treatment overseas. Those who have the money travel overseas, others die while looking for funds. Meanwhile, Port Moresby General Hospital new cancer facility will soon receive a linear accelerator machine to provide radiotherapy treatment for cancer patients in the country. It is likely to operate in October this year. However, the hospital doesn't have any cancer specialist. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
You're with National EMTV News. It's Thursday. We have more of today's other stories when we come back from this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Papua New Guinea has a wide range of untapped sectors for investment in the country, one of them being small to medium enterprises or SMEs. Although fast-growing, this lucrative sector is still in need of drive and more investment to help small and local businesses thrive and prosper into the future. India, in partnership with the PNG government, hosted a strategy seminar on business development and capacity building for vital government agencies to discuss and strategically lay foundations to ideas put forward to drive more investment and help local businesses grow in international markets.
With an ever-increasing population, India is also a country with technological advancements and a huge market to local businesses. In order for PNG to provide an investor-friendly environment, regulations and policies need to continue to streamline tech systems. And this is where India comes in to assist with the seminar to highlight key aspects to help PNG in business development and capacity building in the SME sector. The seminar highlighted areas in business and investment promotion, looking at potential and opportunities, related laws and procedures, challenges, best practices, as well as recommended investment-friendly measures. Health, education, agriculture, renewable energy, capacity building, and human resource development were also looked at as focus areas.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you, as PNG marches in its journey towards development and prosperity, India will remain our trusted partner, working closely with PNG for the economic and social empowerment and growth of its people. To conclude, I consider today's event as an important component of our joint effort to strengthen India-PNG business relations and a step forward in this direction.
And how these two
Reiterating similar sentiments, Minister for Finance James Marape said PNG needs more investments from countries abroad and that it was reassuring to know that India is on board to help PNG develop potential to expand the economy.
Safe country, and going to the future, looking retrospectively, our future will always get better from where we are today. In the last 10 years, we've been able to expand our economy 4 times. And the potential of us expanding our economy at least 3 or 4 more times in the next 10 years looks very, very realistic as we stay into the 2020s ahead of us. At the back of second LNG, at the back of maximizing return from first LNG, at the back of policies that are, you may say it's pro-nationalist policy, but it is to the benefit of those of you who will be doing business in country. When the economy expands, when we have a safer economy, when you have a robust economy in country, those of you who have business address in PNG will prosper in an expanded and growing PNG economy.
Minister, for
commending India on its efforts, Minister Marape said it is good for PNG to have such interfaces as this will help the government to look at opportunities to help the economy flourish. Annette Kora, National EMTV News.
Francis Aguilo, Principal Legal Officer for the Joint Security Task Force for APEC PNG, was selected to take part in the U.S. State Department's International Visitors Leadership Program, which will focus on U.S. state and local government. Aguilo left PNG for the U.S. today for the 4-week program, which will take place from March 25th to April 19th. He will be able to visit Washington, D.C., Texas, Iowa, and Massachusetts. In his current role with the JSTF, he has proven his capabilities to work with all stakeholders, especially during APEC, to forge a stronger private-public partnership in the law and justice sector. Given his strong desire to uphold the rule of law and human rights, Aguilo wants to learn the mechanisms of private-public partnership to ensure law and order services reach the people in rural areas. More than 35 families continue to live in care center homes following a series of flash floods that struck and buried their homes about 4 weeks ago at Malaguna No. 3 in East New Britain Province. The affected families told MTV News that food rations donated to them from business houses in the province never reached them. They are seeking immediate assistance as food and water supply at the care center is running low. Our provincial correspondent Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
This is a care center used by 35 families at Malaguna No. 3 in the Rabaul district. They are all homeless, no possessions, and surrounded by waterways. Almost all of them have lost everything during the flash floods prompted by torrential rains about a month ago, and there's no sign of what would happen next. Ana Mato, the spokesperson of the affected families, told me they have been living without eating any decent meal since the flood struck their homes, food gardens and water sources 4 weeks ago, and the food rations that were donated to them by business houses in the province never arrived at their temporary home.
Because you think all pikinini all need him kai logo school, all strong nago, all youths, all pikinini blomi plave, all stuff lo place, lo avoid him all biget pasin no sem pikinini can angre na kosana plorot na sutim kar.
For the moment, the nearest source of water to use is a well dug along the shoreline, a few meters away from their makeshift home. Anna says there hasn't been any hint of political will given to help them rebuild their lives.
Mi plan nidim streto sem, mi plan tired lo stop, kaino sem lo dislaka tupla kenwes ya. Mi plan like him one plahawe, but mi plan mas move na stop long mi plan mas sem resettle long.
This is the second time that the people here have suffered to a natural disaster. In 1994, a similar occurrence happened when the Vulvur and Vulcan volcanoes erupted, destroyed their homes and displaced many. Some have returned and started their lives all over again. Many have refused to leave their customary land and relocate to a new home at Gelegele, situated a few kilometers out of Kokopo town. They say there is little in the way of comfort there. Here they have accepted the education of their children must come first at the cost of hardships and health risks. Last month, the East New Britain provincial government got a submission of 98 million kina approved by the Minister for Intergovernment Relations, Kevin Isifu. The funding will go towards rebuilding the damaged road infrastructures and address the issues of those who were affected. But the funding is yet to arrive from Waigani. As they wait for help to arrive, tension is rising amongst those affected as food and water sources are running low, and for now they are not happy and soon they will be angry. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
The Department of Implementation and Rural Development today launched its 5-year corporate plan together with other important documents to ensure service delivery to the people. The department's aim under its corporate plan is to ensure development grants are released to the districts and services are delivered to the districts transparently. Speaking at the launching, Secretary Ihi Vaki said development in rural districts depends entirely on good leadership and effective policy guidelines.
Together with the corporate plan, the Department of Implementation and Rural Development also launched its administrative guidelines, the District Information Management System, the Annual Performance Management Report, and the department's official website.
Okay, that's the website, huh?
Speaking at the launching, Secretary Aivaki said, under its corporate plan, the department will be working closely with the District Development Authority to see service delivery in rural areas. He said the department will also be making its presence known in all districts by establishing its offices in all provinces.
It requires collaboration, partnership with key stakeholders, and work as an effective team going down to the district to monitor, report back to the government on how the rural intervention programs are delivered. We need to see the outputs, we need to see the outcomes, and we need to see the impacts, whether people are happy or not.
The Secretary also announced that the department will now be responsible in releasing the provincial and district services improvement program funds to all provinces and districts.
2019, as per the NEC decision, the department has taken on all the SIP programs that are now offloaded to department from Department of Finance. So this year we will be disbursing those funds, but we need to manage it well.
Under this corporate plan, the department will now ensure a user-friendly system for all funds to reach all districts on time. Finance Minister James Marape, when giving his keynote address, urged all stakeholders and development partners to work together to deliver services to the people. He also challenged all districts to partner with the department to see effective use of the PSIP and DSIP funds.
Having said this, I ask our province and districts, you will assist government and you will assist cabinet and you will assist yourself to lobby for greater support to province and districts when our budget expands. If the small allocations that is coming now is done in good manner.
The Chief Ombudsman Commissioner, who was there to witness the occasion, spoke of the importance of leadership in service delivery. He urged all leaders to work together for the good of the country.
Regardless of what background that any one of you have been elected, the important thing is you are now a leader of the people. And for that short term, your focus should be nothing other than the people. If you focus on yourself and how much you can gain out of every opportunity that you have, you will get into trouble.
Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
Now to a story about a man who built up one of the most prominent rugby league competitions in Papua New Guinea over a decade. Today he was farewelled in a funeral ceremony in Ley City. 42-year-old Timothy Lepa died in a car accident 2 weeks ago along the Makam Valley stretch of the Highlands Highway. Lepa quit school at grade 5, then went on to work as a radio broadcaster and sales executive at PNG FM and NBC. His work in the media was closely intertwined with his work as a rugby league executive and coach of the Enga Mioks. Over 10 years, he was instrumental in building up the Ipatas Cup, which drew players from village leagues. Friends and family members said his work was driven by the frustration that raw talent was not being recognized by league executives in Port Moresby. A road connecting almost 10,000 people to Leh City has not been upgraded since the year 2012. The Bougainville Front Road leading to the 2nd 7 junction is rarely used due to the dire state it's in. Apart from the road, residents in the area say they lack basic government services such as electricity and water supply.
This is the Bougainville Front Road leading up to the 2nd 7 junction. The road has not seen any upgrade for the last 7 years. The last upgrade was in 2012 during the term of the current Nawai MP Kennedy Wenge. Bob is a pastor and a long-time resident and community leader in this area.
Plenty time and potholes and maybe too much now. I'll carry can slow down long here now. Some beginnings have frustrated long conditions. Maybe stop long and maybe I'll hold up now. Kind something also. Also looking at blossom. Name no good. Will give me blood la community. But Bell na thinking me play at long and on the road. All walk kolta cement long malang na kamantap lusim no tamblo ya suppose all can finish him long here na iguantap and more good.
This particular area is known as the Last Dog Mangi or LBM. About 10,000 people live here. Pastor Bob said the fact that the road runs between the two districts of Leh and Nawai Open might be the reason for years of neglect towards this stretch of road. He's calling on MPs of both districts to work together as this area has seen very little services from the government.
Power line 2 and PNG power ino give me plak line lo community all man yet only like in power and all pay more PNG power na all come na puli mi come inside. Wara long community blow mi platu M2 ME inogata ombla government ME looks have lo mi platu.
The road also serves people in remote parts of Nawai district who travel into Leh's main market to sell their garden produce. It is also an access to reliable health services. Meanwhile, Nawai MP Kennedy Wenge said the road is budgeted for under the National Road Development Plan for the Nawai district, with upgrades soon to be done.
Number one garage mi put him finish. That's in Bagrab so mi like put him now. Number two garage again work. Na mi look more in Masilim or cement must go. Ting bro mi make road is was him.
Charlene Airy, National MTV News, Leh.
The Malaysia Association in Papua New Guinea has donated 40,000 kina to St. John Ambulance. St. John Ambulance Chief Executive Officer, Commissioner Matthew Cannon, thanked the Malaysia Association for this much-needed donation. He said the money will go towards converting 2 of the ambulance buses to 4-wheel drives and purchasing new radios. This year, St. John plans to upgrade 5 of the ambulances donated from APEC to be more suitable for the road conditions in settlement areas of NCD. These modifications include upgrading the suspension to increase ground clearance, ensure a smoother ride for the patient, and adding metal plates to the undercarriage to protect the ambulance from large rocks. St. John raises funds to help give free ambulance care to vulnerable groups, like women in labor, children under 5 with serious illness, and people injured by domestic violence and accidents. Stephen and Elizabeth Seveke, winners of the 2018 Bougainville Chocolate Festival, are currently in Australia to meet with renowned Australian chocolate makers. Chocolate makers across Australia received 20 kilogram samples of the couple's winning cocoa. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the Sevekes will have a chance to see how their homegrown cocoa beans were created into various chocolate products.
CY cocoa farmers Stephen and Elizabeth Seveke finally get to see what happens to their cocoa beans. The 2018 Bougainville Chocolate Festival winners are currently in Melbourne to meet with well-known chocolate makers.
For me to travel to Australia, and it is, I must say, it is an icebreaker and an eye-opener, because we alone on Bougainville, we have been growing cocoa for the last 100 years. You know, 100 years is so many years, and now we are moving forward with the ACL.
The annual chocolate festival brings farmers, cocoa buyers, industry researchers, and chocolate makers together to develop Bougainville's cocoa.
60 farmers, they brought in their 20 kg dried cocoa samples, and we sent them over to Paradise Food here in Port Moresby they made them into chocolates, and then the chocolatiers went to Bougainville and just judged them.
The competition encourages farmers to adopt best practice in cocoa management and fermentation to support cocoa production and quality of Bougainville's cocoa sector.
And it's a very special occasion for them. It'll be their first time going to Australia. It's a special occasion for us. It's the first time we've sent Chocolate Festival winners to Australia. But
Paul's farm is about 1 hectare, and with the help of their 2 daughters, they plant and harvest the cocoa.
And to produce the quality cocoa we needed on Bougainville, we have to be the owners of the cocoa value chain.
This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity saw the pair also buying the much-needed tools and equipment to improve their cocoa production.
obviously have been a key partner for Bougainville as a witness to the Bougainville Peace Agreement, and we take our responsibility to Bougainville and to the national government of PNG as a witness very seriously. And a key part of discharging that obligation is, in our minds, investing in the economic prosperity on Bougainville for the Bougainvillian people.
Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News.
And you're watching Thursday's news on your number one. Stories making headlines overseas. When we come back, we'll see you then. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, and aid agencies are struggling to reach survivors of Cyclone Idai that's ravaging parts of southern Africa. The powerful storm cut off the entire communities and left thousands of people homeless in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi.
The water consumes the land, homes, belongings, and lives. This is 15 miles from the coast, but has become an inland sea. Today, as the rain cleared, we were able to fly over one part of the flooded interior, over people waiting for food, water, and medical aid.
We don't know yet how many people died down there, but it's known that tens of thousands have lost their homes, and the race is on now to get people to safety.
This was the town of Buzi, population more than 170,000, wading through the floods to the upper floors of buildings or any patch of dry ground. Some sought refuge in the stands of a stadium. Here, crowded onto a bridge. It leads to a cathedral, one of many buildings battered by the cyclone. Others have camped on roofs. Hundreds have already been rescued from here, but many more are still in desperate need. Nearby, we stopped on an island of higher ground, where South African military helicopters were delivering aid. This single white tent represents the international aid community. 100 more are needed and expected. So many people have taken refuge here. What is striking is the dignity and weariness.
The people are dying because of these floods.
But those on the dry land are the lucky ones. This man was saved from a precarious refuge above the water. International rescue teams are now stepping up their operations, flying whenever the weather relents. On the ground, survivors are given what comfort is available. Fresh water is the first most basic need. In the city of Beira, the thousands who've lost their homes are being sheltered in schools and churches, in the few buildings that are largely undamaged. 6 days since the storm struck, there's severe overcrowding, and even in the city, a serious scarcity of food.
Help! We're suffering here. Help Mozambique. Here in Beira, we're in a very bad way, very bad.
A few days ago, they lived productive lives, growing their own food. It's not their habit to plead to the world for help, but they desperately need it.
The FBI is joining the investigation into the Boeing 737 MAX airliner that comes as new details emerged about the last moments of the MAX 8 that crashed in Indonesia, killing all 189 people on board.
Tonight, word the FBI is joining that investigation into the certification of Boeing's new 737 MAX after those 2 crashes, and chilling details about the first crash in Indonesia. There was trouble the day before on a flight, the jet moving dramatically up and down after takeoff. The pilots confused. But a third pilot sitting in the jump seat, according to Bloomberg, apparently saved the flight.
There's this chaotic situation in the cockpit. The pilots are trying to figure out how to solve it and are not making progress. The third guy sitting in the jump seat is the one who spoke up and said, try turning off the trim system.
Boeing says its manual calls for the automation to be disengaged.
The simple procedure, if you have a problem with the autopilot, is to shut it off?
Yeah, take control of the aircraft. I know I can fly the airplane manually without my electric trim.
In Indonesia, even though the jump seat pilot apparently saved the day and the problem was written up, the jet was put back into service the next day with a bad sensor, triggering that anti-stall system called MCAS, forcing the nose down. During the accident flight, the pilots, according to Bloomberg, while struggling with the aircraft, were going through their emergency checklist but ran out of time, having never turned off the system, the jet crashing into the Java Sea.
There are ways to cope with the failure, and what we've seen in Lion Air and potentially with Ethiopia is pilots weren't trained to cope with the problem.
This is Thursday's news. We take a look at some sporting action in Trukai Sports coming your way next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The PNG Athletics squad has been preparing in Goroka for the Pacific Games. The final traveling team will be announced at a later date after the justification process.
The athletics team contributed 22 gold medals to Team PNG at the 2015 Pacific Games. After the 2015 Games, they were regarded the best in the Pacific region and are looking to maintain that reputation this year.
I think at this stage, in previous years, we haven't been in such a strong position so early. We still have 4 months to go to the Games, so hopefully over the next few months we can take them up another level. But for that, they need some good competition. So that's why we're planning on getting some of them to Asia in May.
This year's squad has a good mixture of experienced and new athletes. The final team has not been named yet, but they expect to have a team of 50 athletes.
We're not able to announce the full team just yet until it's gone through the justification committee process. But yeah, we're expecting to have a team of around 50 athletes, probably 20 girls and 30 male athletes.
In the lead up to the Pacific Games, they plan to attend different championships. PNG Athletics will be hoping to send the final team to the Oceania Championships this year, depending on travel arrangements.
The original plan was that we would take the full team to the Oceania Championships, which is in Townsville in the last week of June, and go from there to Samoa. But, obviously the Olympic Committee are looking at the travel arrangements, and they have a charter planned from Port Moresby, so we have to negotiate with the Olympic Committee.
Many of the athletes are training in Goroka at the National Sports Institute under coach Dio Lori from the USA. He's been with the team for the past 3 years. Overall preparations have been good, with a large number of athletes reaching a high standard of performance in just a few months.
Obviously, there, with the general preparation, and this, the head coach can look after those things for them. It's when they need the technical assistance from their specialist coach, and unfortunately we can't have those people with them all the time. It's just not possible.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
To rugby league, and basing his changes on experience and skill, the coach of the SPPNG Hunters, Michael Marum, is looking for a win in round 3. He stated that the players in the fullback, hooker and the halves were not performing to their expectations, and changes have been made. The only player retaining his position is William Mone at halfback. But even his efforts last week were criticized by the coach.
The Hunters were hard at training on Tuesday, 100-meter strides and short circuit drills. The team has come under a cloud of criticism in the past 2 games, but that is not covering the horizon for these players. Marum is not a fan of negative criticism and backed his team of rookies to deliver.
We don't want to put too much pressure on them. It's only 2nd game last weekend. I know everyone's disappointed about the loss, but these boys are stepping into bigger shoes, and the last thing we want is just putting all those negative comments out there.
Up, next one. Let's roll. Stick. No. Positional changes made by the coach to the spine, replacing the fullback, the hooker and the 5'8", is purely based on form and experience. In the fullback, Blen Abavu's experience sees him take over the coveted position.
Blen played fullback 2nd half last weekend, so Joshua got to struggle a bit there under the eyeball, and also with a bit of space that he had, he made a bit of line breakout down the field, but yeah, so we'll see how he goes in the centers.
Charlie Simon's poor decisions in the attack cost the team a good number of chances to score, but he has been more successful in the 9 than in the 6.
He's now moved back to Uko now, so that's where he played a lot of games last year, and he scored a few tries there. So, and again last weekend he probably was just thinking about himself. He wanted to go for that try, or wasn't thinking about the team. So. But those are discussions we had with them at our team meetings, at videos. So.
Halfback William Monet is yet to fully impress, but had a good kicking game, but still needs to improve in some areas.
There is, hopefully he backs up from last weekend. Probably rate him 5, give him a 5 point out of 10 for last weekend's game. Probably, if you can get that up to a 6, 7, be good enough for us here.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
And still on the Hunters, a poor completion rate from handling errors and a weak defense line cost the Hunters their 2nd match. Michael Marum has addressed the issues in training, and the team is ready to take on the Melbourne Storm feeder club, the Sunshine Coast Falcons in Port Moresby. The Falcons have named former Hunter Justin Olam in their lineup for this Sunday's game.
DSP PNG Hunters will have to work on a number of key areas this weekend if they are looking to beat the Sunshine Coast Falcons. The Falcons are 2 from 2 and defeated the 2018 premiers Redcliffe Dolphins 30 points to 6. Statistics from the Hunters' 24-0 loss has the team with a really poor completion rate. The team also collectively made 14 errors in total and made a total of 30 missed tackles and 20 ineffective tackles. Topping the list for errors was Charlie Simon with 3 handling errors. He also missed 6 tackles. The coach Michael Marum pointed out that the defense effort was poor, with quick play the balls by the Northern Pride, hurting the Hunters.
The big forwards come through, they just fall in front. The bigger guys always go for surrender tackle, so that allows them to just get up really quick. And our boys fail to hold them down a bit longer. So as a result, our defensive line was set.
Marum was not happy with the poor decisions by the halves, which resulted in bad kicks and delay of passes.
There was a lot of opportunity last weekend in opposition's line. It's just a last pass, maybe holding it back a bit longer. Just that quality of the pass, again, execution, the kicks at the end there. So those are little things that these boys think they get away with during club games, but it's big.
Marum is focusing on using the speed of the backline this weekend. He said the game plans have been executed well in training, but not during the match.
Just a better attacking from the boys. You want to free up a football a bit more, throw the ball around and make them work their big pack. So you want to go out and make sure we play on the edges. We've got speed. That's just one thing we haven't done. So we've had a good game plan, game 1, game 2, but again, it's just how the spine control those plays in there. So they're training well, but just execution on game day. Yeah.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
You're watching True Kai Sports. We'll have more for you after the break. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome back to True Kai Sports and to Super Rugby now. The Highlanders have today paid tribute to the lives lost in last Friday's terror attack, with the team visiting the local mosque. The team also gifted the Muslim community a special jersey before flying out to Auckland to play the Blues.
A show of respect from the Highlanders this afternoon, the passing of a gift and a message of support.
Thanks for coming.
In loving memory of the lives lost at the Masjid Al Noor Mosque, Linwood Islamic Center, 15th March 2019, you are us. And those words mean a lot to us, pretty much telling us that we are not a segregated community, but all within one community.
The team visiting Dunedin's Al Hada Mosque, the place said to be the original target of the alleged gunman, before embracing those from the Otago Muslim Association.
Every time I hugged someone, from the Highlanders, I started tearing up because I could just feel the love, the aroha. That's what's important. That's what we need.
Just reminded me that we've done the right thing. I mean, there's a lot of people there. As somebody just said to me, that it's a small community, the Muslim community, and they're all connected to somebody in Christchurch. So for us to be able to do anything for them is important.
With the Highlanders playing in Auckland tomorrow night, the team was unable to attend tonight's vigil at Forsyth Bar Stadium. Instead, choosing to visit the mosque here in Dunedin this afternoon as a chance to pay their respects.
To be honest, it was unreal actually, because myself personally, I haven't gone that far up close to any rugby player, and then there were a few All Blacks in there as well. It was, a bit emotional for all of us. It's just not, their presence, but just the support that we're getting from them.
The support also shared by those of the Hurricanes. One News understands the team are planning a pre-match gesture to the Muslim community before the side's match against the Stormers on Saturday night. The entire rugby and Muslim community standing side by side and uniting as one.
And that heartfelt story ending Trukai Sports for tonight. The weather details for the next 24 hours when we come back. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And now to the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow to the NGI region. Lorangal, mostly fine, fine in Kavieng and Kokopo and Rabaul, and mostly fine in Kimbe and Buka.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that has been the news, sport and weather for today, the 21st of March 2019. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, have a pleasant evening. Take care. Good night.